Let us begin with a simple truth the Stoics would have recognized. The deepest wounds in human relationships are not always carved by cruelty, but by indifference. When a woman no longer values you, it is not the raised voice, the heated arguments, or the slamming of doors that leave the most lasting mark. It is the quiet absence of respect, the subtle erosion of appreciation, the unspoken belief that you are no longer worth the weight of her attention. In Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, there is a constant reminder to turn inward when faced with pain. He urges us to see that the sting we feel is not caused by the event itself, but by the judgment we place upon it. Yet even the most disciplined mind can feel the ache when someone you once held close begins to treat your presence as optional. You sense it in the way she stops listening when you speak, how your successes no longer spark her pride, how your kindness is met not with warmth, but with expectation. The modern world, with all its noise and distractions, offers endless reasons for relationships to fray. But when value is lost, it often starts with the small things. She no longer turns to you for counsel. She does not seek your opinion before making choices that once would have been shared decisions. Your presence, once a source of comfort, becomes part of the background. Like a painting on the wall she has seen so often she forgets to look at it. This is not about vanity, nor about demanding constant validation. It is about the quiet bond of mutual regard, the sense that both lives are enriched by the other. The Stoic path does not tell us to chase after that lost value or to beg for recognition. Epictetus warns us against placing our happiness in the hands of others. If her perception has shifted, it may be because you have allowed your own sense of worth to drift. In seeking to please, you may have neglected the boundaries that maintain self-respect. In avoiding conflict, you may have allowed her to see your silence as weakness. A Stoic would remind you, what is within your control is your conduct, your principles, and your discipline, not her estimation of you. When a woman does not value you, the greatest injury is not to your pride, but to your sense of partnership. You feel the disconnection when your ideas are dismissed without thought, when your time is treated as though it were limitless and undeserving of care, when your emotions are handled with less gentleness than you once offered hers. But here lies the Stoic's lesson. This is also the moment to turn pain into instruction. This hurt becomes a mirror showing you where you have abandoned yourself. Have you let your own pursuits fade in the background? Have you dimmed your light in the hope that she would shine more brightly? True strength in this moment comes not from confrontation, but from recentering. Marcus Aurelius speaks of the citadel within, the unshakable inner fortress where the opinions of others cannot breach the walls. If you return to this place, you remember that your value does not depend on her recognition. You live by your own standards of honor, discipline, and virtue, whether the world applauds or remains silent. And when you inhabit this space fully, something remarkable happens. You stop needing her validation, and, paradoxically, you may even regain her respect, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. Still, the Stoics were not unfeeling statues. They understood the warmth of human connection and the grief that comes when it cools. Seneca wrote that no man is an island, that friendships and bonds are part of the natural order. But he also cautioned that such connections are healthiest when they are formed between whole individuals, not when one person's worth is built upon the fragile approval of another. If her loss of value for you feels unbearable, it may be a sign that you have anchored too much of yourself in her perception. In modern life, we often measure our relationships through a lens of reciprocity, what we give, what we receive. But the Stoic perspective shifts this. Give because it is in your nature to be generous, to be steady, to be principled. Do not let the withdrawal of another's appreciation dictate your own standard of conduct. In this way, you remain untouchable, even in the face of disregard. You continue to live well, because living well is its own reward. The hurt, then, becomes a teacher. It teaches you where you have allowed complacency to settle in your actions, where you have permitted another's treatment to define your self-image. It teaches you that love, when it is healthy, is not built on possession or constant affirmation, but on mutual recognition of value, and that this recognition must be renewed, both in her eyes and in your own. And so, when she does not value you, the Stoic does not collapse into bitterness or chase her attention with desperate gestures. He observes, he reflects, and he corrects what is within his control. He strengthens the virtues that make him whole: courage, wisdom, justice, temperance. In doing so, he ensures that even if her perception never shifts again, his own self-respect remains intact, because the truth is this: what hurts most is not that she cannot see your value, it is that for a time you stopped living in a way that made it undeniable. The remedy is not in changing her mind, but in reclaiming your own. When you do, you find that the pain fades, replaced by a quiet strength. And whether she turns back to you or walks away, you remain unbroken. So, what do we take from this Stoic approach when we find ourselves undervalued in relationships, whether personal or professional? The answer lies in self-reflection, control over our reactions, and the cultivation of an inner strength that remains unshaken by the external world. The Stoics never advised chasing after someone's approval or letting the opinions of others dictate our sense of self-worth. Instead, they teach us to look inward, to reclaim our sense of value, our integrity, and our purpose. When we stop relying on the validation of others, we free ourselves from the cycle of disappointment and hurt that comes from placing our happiness in their hands. The key to long-lasting peace, then, is not in changing others but in changing ourselves. By grounding ourselves in the Stoic virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we can ensure that no matter how others may perceive us, we always know our worth. We stop seeking approval and start living in alignment with our own values. If you've found yourself in a similar situation, feeling undervalued or disrespected, take this as a moment of reflection. Use it to strengthen your character, to reconnect with your inner fortress. Allow the pain to teach you and shape you into someone who is unshakable, no matter the storm outside. Remember, your value is not dependent on anyone else's recognition. You are worthy because you embody virtue, because you live with honor and purpose. When you hold firm to these principles, no amount of disregard can diminish your strength. You will stand tall, unbroken, no matter who chooses to see your value. And that, my friends, is the essence of true freedom and self-respect. So, in the end, when she no longer values you, the Stoic remains steadfast. You don't chase after her approval. Instead, you reclaim your own worth. And in doing so, you live a life that can never be diminished by the actions of others. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. And remember, your worth is inherent. Never forget that.